Welcome to day 2 of the Strong Mobile Free Challenge. Again, so honored that you're back here with me for today. We're gonna start with a little bit of mobility, go into that 16-minute HIIT workout again, and then end with this time a little bit of core. All you need is a jump rope. If you don't have a jump rope, we can always modify, and towels or slippery socks or sliders on the floor, furniture sliders, or paper plates, or whatever you can use to get kind of creative so that you can just slide your heels. You won't need them for very long. So even if it's socks on carpet, that will work, okay? We're not gonna do anything across the floor or crazy exercises right now. We just need to feel it a little bit in the core and really understand what that core is all about. So here we go, getting started. We have 3 minutes on the clock to start for our warm-up, and we're just gonna, again, start with that same bouncing, getting everything to kind of relax, breathing in and out through the nose, getting that fascia to just release and relax by getting those fluids to move and that lymphatic system pumping. Okay, then we're gonna go from a hamstring stretch to a quad stretch. So I'm just going to, it's kind of like the opposite action is going to happen in my pelvis. So my leg's going to come out, and I'm going to take this pelvis and dip it forward as I come back, and then I'll feel a good hamstring stretch there. Then I'll take that same leg and then grab the foot if I can. So I want to try to reach for that foot. Now I'm going to pull from that pelvis and tuck that tailbone under. Okay, you can always lift with the top arm and get a good line of pull here, and then again, leg out, hip forward, leg back, hip under. Okay, so this hip is really important because it determines that you don't have to go all the way down in order to get a good hamstring stretch, and you don't have to just yank your heel into your bottom to get a good quad stretch. So let's try the other side. Again, hip forward as you come down, and then hip tailbone under as you come up, okay? And if you're feeling it a lot into that quad, take it easy on that tailbone, okay? So you don't have to like really force it under. If you're feeling a really big pull on the knee or the quad, just start to slightly tuck, and then again, start to tuck or open up the other way as you come here. And remember, for hamstrings specifically, we're not trying to get that toe up to your face. We want to relax the foot, and we're just dropping the hips back and then coming forward. And this really gets us into like what's happening in the pelvis, which is a really good place to be. We're going to come down to the floor and just open up those wrists for a moment. So this is one way that I like to just kind of get into my wrists and kind of wake them up before I do any kind of exercise. We're not going to spend too much time. So lean forward, press on those fingers. So you want to feel like they're bending. You don't want them to hyperextend into the floor. So press into those fingers, slowly come down. Press and then slowly come down. Use your body weight to kind of help you with this as well. We're just going to do about 5 of them. And then we're going to do 5 coming up. So now I'm going to take my fist up in the air, extend my fingers, and then take the fist down. Extend, take the fist down, and again, just 5 of these. So we just got a good little opening up in the hamstrings and the quads, and then kind of waking up those wrists. Then we come right into our HIIT workout. We're going to start with jump rope here, okay? So I take a jump rope, I kind of put some knots in it. We can make sure I'm not going to hit anything because I'm a little bit of a shorty. That's okay. Now here's the thing that you want to make sure with jump rope as we do this. It is just a little light flick of the wrist. So it comes down and up, down and up. The shoulders stay back and relaxed, okay? It is not pulling or forcing back, because then we get the rib cage out of alignment here, and you start to bounce into your back, if you can see how that happens. So rather than forcing the shoulder blades back, I want them to be more relaxed, and think of flipping at those wrists and then opening through the rib cage to keep breathing. I'll keep talking into that. Remember, as I talk, you move. Adjust as you're moving based on what I'm saying. Okay, next one we're going into is push-up prone W. So I love this one because you get both the push and the pull. So we come down, squeeze in the bottom, coming down nice and slow as we go all the way down to the floor. And then we're going to extend those arms out, reach up and pull behind your ears, extend it out, and then press right back up. So now this is a fast press. If you need to, go from your knees, keep the shoulders back, and then push the shoulder blades into the floor. Okay, so it's a full push all the way up. Squeeze your bottom, come all the way down really slow. Extend it out. Lift from the upper body, pull the thumbs behind the ears, shoulder blades away from the ears as much as possible. Squeeze into this W, extend it out, and then right back up. Press. So I really want that full push and the slow lower, okay? It's not about as fast as you can go. It's about really feeling that strength and starting to improve the strength in the push-up, the chest, and the back. Okay, now lunge squat, lunge jumps. Not everyone's favorite, that's for sure. So the hips are gonna go to the back as I lunge. So I want you to look at the relationship between my shoulders and my hips. If my hips go back, my shoulders come forward. Okay, so in the lunge, my shoulders slightly come forward. I'm not bending in my back, right? I'm just letting my hips come back and my shoulders forward. And then I open my knees wide as I can in that squat, and then keep them open and then switch, okay? One way that I like to think about this, one hand goes on the hip as it comes back, open those knees in the squat, other hand. So this is how you can modify, is just by stepping, okay? But you would think about the same movement if you were jumping as well, okay? Next, we have lateral lunge shifts. Sorry, checking, making sure we're on the right page. Okay, so for lateral lunge shifts, I'm gonna start up here, okay? I'm gonna come into a squat about as low as I can tolerate, okay? Then taking my foot out nice and long, I'm still on one leg, hip back, and then I'm gonna shift my weight to the other side. So see how this hip kind of goes back. Shift all the weight into this leg, stay low in the squat, and come up. So we're working balance. If you need to, have something around you just for support. Extend that leg first, shift the weight, come all the weight on one leg, and then come up. So we're really working that single leg support as we're working the frontal plane. This is called side to side frontal plane, lateral movement in the body, and balance. So many things happening, which are so awesome. Okay, next, we go right back. So it was one round of everything. Grab that jump rope again. Remember, it's just 4 exercises, so it goes pretty quickly. Okay, so jump rope. If you do not have a jump rope, you were just keeping it back, flipping in those wrists. Now, one thing I do want you to think about, and if you need to, have shoes on for the jump rope because it doesn't feel so lovely when it is hitting between the toes. Ooh, it kind of hurts. Now look at my feet. A lot of what happens is that people get lazy, I will say, or we just don't know how to move our feet, okay? And we start to bounce on the outside of the toes. And then that causes a lot of compression, tension, and tightness right on the inside, and a lot of instability on the outside of those ankles and feet. So in order to prevent that, think of staying right over the big toe as you bounce. Give it a little bend in the knee so that you keep everything good. If that is too much for your body, go back to the toe taps that we did on day 1, okay? Okay, push up prone, W. So this one, I want you to think in the push up, thumbs are in line with the nipples. So I say this one a lot, and it sounds a little funny, but I promise it is a lot more functional. So elbows, also watch my elbows. They're not coming out to the side as I come down, and I'm not reaching for the ground with my head. Okay, so I'm pressing away from the floor. My elbows naturally come to the side. So not squeezing my side, but more at a diagonal. They come naturally down. I go nice and slow. Extend out, reach overhead, and then squeeze right behind my ears, shoulder blades all the way down. Extend it out, and then press it right back up. If you need to, again, onto those knees. Really feel it. Slow down the motion and move. Whew, gosh, to only get 1 in 45 seconds. Hopefully you're getting a little bit more. I'm just talking a lot. Okay, so again, lunge, squat, lunge jumps. You can always just step it out for those, or you try to move, okay? To take the pressure off of the knees, you want those hips to go back. So that's why I say the hand that's in front is gonna pull that hip back. because when I do that, look at what happens. It pulls my knee back, meaning my hip's gonna take a lot more of the pressure. So automatically, and then when I think knees out wide and then hip back, I get most of the action working right at my glutes and my hips rather than at my knee, especially with jumping exercises. If you're still building up the tolerance to jumping, to loading, and especially to loading those knees, loading in the hips is a lot more effective right now as you're starting to kind of get better into your body. Then exercises we can do will start to load back into those hips a little bit, or into the knees a little bit more. We don't want to avoid the knee pain. We don't want to avoid the knees, but we do want to be mindful, especially as we're jumping. Okay, lateral shifts. So again, starting up, I'll show you this way. Up here, I'm gonna come down, extend out straight, so I'm all on one hip, then I shift over to the other hip. So see how my hip comes back? So as I shift, hip comes back, all my weight comes to this leg, and then I stand. Sit, extend, shift, all my weight comes here, and I stand. Use a chair, use a wall if you need balance support, but try to do it. Okay, you might think, I can't do a single leg squat. Well, you can. And this one, especially barefoot, you start to feel the ground different. I feel the inside of my foot to the outside of my foot. I just feel all these different parts of my body starting to understand how to work together. And that is the goal that we're going for. Okay, back to the jump rope. Okay, whew, here we go. So, whoop, again, I say, it goes into the toes if you're not careful. Or into the hair. That's another one. Okay, so bouncing off the toes, you want to think, is my rib cage over my pelvis? Or am I kind of bouncing with my rib cage up to the ceiling? Try not to get that rib cage to bounce for you. You want to bounce from those hips. You want to breathe from the rib cage here. And this stack, this alignment, that's where you don't have to start to think about what's happening at the pelvic floor. Are you contracting? Are you holding? It's naturally going to do its job when we start to align, move and use our legs and breathe. So the moment that you just start breathing it is the moment that it starts working for you, not against you. Okay, so we'll try to get a couple more in here. So I'll try to do it a little bit more real time, and I'm gonna do it on my knees so you see what it's like to go really slow. So again, thumbs in line with the nipples, glutes tight, nice and slow, elbows at a diagonal, shoulders away from my ears, extend and squeeze, extend and then explode up. Nice and slow on the way down, solid line. So notice how I'm not just like dropping into it, but I'm holding solid, extending up and pulling, extending and pressing. Okay, nice and slow as we go here, breathing the entire time. Breath is so important. It really keeps us engaged and mindful of what's activating and what's actually working rather than trying to force it. We don't want to just be trying to force exercises. It's not going to go well if we're doing that, okay? Okay, next one, lunge squat, lunge jumps. One of my faves. So again, think about opposite arm, opposite leg again, even in that lunge. And then as you squat, even though my knees are pulling out, I don't want to bend over. Okay, so I don't want to be looking down. Again, be mindful where that gaze is going and what that's causing you to do in your spine. So you want a good upright spine, look straight out ahead of you. Looking out, and it's going to help to naturally keep that chest up. Then you just have to be mindful of where your legs are going. So as I come back, my hip comes back, my knees go out, and I switch. Okay, doing a squat in between each one if the legs start to get tired, because they will. Keep it moving and just squat it, okay? Whole point again is that you keep that heart rate up and you're being mindful of what's happening in the body. Am I moving? Am I breathing? Am I listening to the cues? Am I listening to what my body needs? These are all so important. Okay, weight shift. Single leg, squat as low as you can. Bend, extend, press and shift, coming up and extend it up. Squeeze from that glute and then coming right back down. Extend it out all the way. Reach and shift all the weight and press. You might notice you're bending, you're falling over a lot. How can you slow down the movement? How can you engage more? Is my rib cage out, or can I drop it on top of my pelvis and sink low? Extend it without reaching and dropping my leg, but just extending, pressing, holding, engaging before you come up, okay? The more slowly you do the movement, the better it's going to be. Okay, anyone else tired? Or is it just me talking? Okay, you ready? Here we go again. Jump rope. I think this is round 4, or am I delusional? I think this is the last round. Okay, joke's on me if it's not. So, breathing, not thinking of necessarily squeezing anything, just thinking of breathing, bouncing off of those big toes, getting that rib cage over alignment if you need to, not using a jump rope or doing just the toe tap switches with the opposite arm. Again, being mindful, where's my gaze? If it's too far down, am I starting to round and get lazy in the spine? If it's too far up, am I starting to get my hips to come into this position? So gaze has so much neurological connection to our body, obviously. So if we can use it in how we're moving, it becomes really helpful. Okay, down to the floor, and then we have our push-up. So squeezing in the glutes, coming down nice and slow, extending out, lift, and then pull those shoulder blades back. Notice that my legs are relaxed, okay? So we want to be mostly focused on the upper body here, squeezing and pulling those shoulder blades away, extending out as far as you can, thumbs so that they're in line with the nipple, press it right back up, and then full press, full extension, squeeze those glutes down, nice and slow on the way down, extend, lift, pull, extend, and press, and then nice and slow. Whew. Okay. Lunge, squat, lunge jumps. Here we go. It's fun, right? When we start to do it, maybe not, maybe you hate me, that's okay. I'll take it. Hopefully you're learning something. Okay, hips to the back, extend and open, hips back. Okay, jumping in each one, being mindful. So really use those arms, get into that running position, totally fine. And then extend it out, open, open. Use those arms out in front of you if you need more chest, and then coming up. Open, switch. Okay, little cues that can make a big difference and really shift the tension from the knees back into the glutes, which especially for the jumping type exercises, that's where we want to feel that dominant power, that strength is to really come from those glutes right now. Okay, good. Shifting, this one's fun. Okay, because you don't have to worry about going fast. It's nice and slow. It's just listening to your body. Coming up, bending, extend, shift, and coming up. Whew. Can you hold? As low as you can. Reach, shift, hold, and then up. Challenge yourself. Try to see, can I not hold on a little bit more? Can I reach before I put that foot down a little bit further? And then coming up. Slowing down the breath, reaching, pushing, and extending. Having access to that full foot, so important for how we move in life. So that's why I like to do a lot of these at-home HIIT workouts with no shoes, because it just gives me that better feedback to the ground in terms of what's happening, okay? Okay, whew. Who's ready for some core? We're gonna slow it down just a little bit. So this is where I'm gonna take my towels, Or you can put on your socks. Now you're probably regretting if you had socks, like, oh, I don't want to put on socks after I sweated. Sorry. Okay. So for this, we're not like sliding, we're not doing bridges, we're just allowing our feet to move. Okay, so I'm gonna come onto my back here. Okay, so I wanna think about where my rib cage is in relation to my pelvis, okay? So right now I can feel my rib cage, and it's kind of, if I were to put my hands, it's kind of pointed up, right? So if it's pointed up, but my pelvis is down, you can see how there's a dissociation between what's happening. So it's not gonna be the greatest core contraction. It's not gonna be good intra-abdominal pressure. It's for the movement. Okay, so how can I take a breath in from that rib cage to the sides? Breath out and feel this rib cage on top start to drop just a little bit. So if for you it feels like it's this, don't do it as much, okay? I want it just to be slight. So again, breath in from this outer rib cage, breath out. Good. Now we're gonna think, as you breathe out, I want you to think of like an elevator lifting from that pelvic floor up and in, or like you're squeezing blueberries up and in. So breathe out from that rib cage, breathe out, and then pull up. Good. So notice that I don't say anything about the belly button, because if we're thinking about the belly button, then we're almost thinking of sucking in and rib cage out. So I don't want to suck in position here. That's not intra-abdominal or core pressure. It's actually where the rib cage starts to come down, the pelvic floor starts to engage, and I have this good alignment. Now, notice that my alignment goes out if I rotate. So if I come in like this, then I don't also have good alignment, just like if I'm not here or if I'm here. So it's not about pressing that spine into the ground as hard as possible so that the hips come up, okay? That's something to worry about later, but we're not gonna talk about it right now. So breathing in, breathing out, pelvic floor up, flattening hip bone to hip bone, nice and tight. Now I want you to think of a breath in, holding this position. Breath out, can you still hold it? Now we're gonna do it with a foot slide. So breathe in, slide this heel. Breathe out, pull from that pelvic floor, rib cage down, okay? Again, not moving. I don't want this to happen, so be careful for that. Feel those hip bones. Breathing in, extend the leg, breathing out. Try the other foot, breathing in, breathing out. In, out. Now, if you feel the quads or the hip flexors are working, this is where I want you to practice and stay, okay? Because we shouldn't be feeling these legs working for us or the glutes. It should really be coming low from the pelvic floor into that transverse abdominis and around to those obliques. So again, breathing in, breathing out. Hold that there. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Good. Now we're going to keep the knees here, and we're going to let one knee fall out to the side. And usually what happens is that the hip goes with it. But we actually want to try to maintain. So breathing in, breathing out, holding tight. Breathing in, don't let it move, breathing out. Try the opposite, breathing in, breathing out. Other side, in, out, in, out, and relax. Okay, so you start to get a different relationship with what's happening here rather than what's happening in the hip flexors and quads. And if you're feeling any popping happening, that's again where you want to go even slower and use that breath. Think about this pelvic floor elevatoring up, the hip bone to hip bone tightening, and the rib cage coming down. So other one we're going to do, breathe in, breathe out, set it up. Now holding this tight, again, not rounding, just holding. Can you lift one leg without letting these hip bones move? And can you put it down, keeping it the same? and still breathing. So whether the breath is coming out on the way up, in on the way down, or if it's reversing, in on the way up, out on the way down, either way, it should stay flat here. It shouldn't be rounding and popping up, and it shouldn't be moving or rotating, okay? Things to keep in mind. Now we're gonna think about reaching. So same thing here, rather than rounding here, I wanna think about lifting my chest to the ceiling. So we're gonna lift 1, 2, 3, rib cage is down, pelvic floor is up, 4, 5, lift up, 6, shoulder blades lifted, 7, 8, 9, and hold it up as high as you can, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Whew. So hopefully you start to feel just a different relationship with your core, with the pelvic floor, with the breath, and how it all works together. That's truly the goal of starting to understand core and how it's not just crunches or sit-ups or planks. They're all a part of it, but we build on this inner core, this foundational layer, and then we can advance onto all the advanced things. Once we start to have this understanding of how do I hold my pressure, how do I hold my core, so that it's how do I hold my back, how do I hold my hips, my SI, my knee pain, how do I activate my glutes? So we can understand what truly is happening within the body and how to activate the body when we build on this inner layer. So thank you so much for learning with me, for being open to be a beginner and just exploring what could happen and what could be possible in the body when you learn and just do something a little bit different. And I'll see you next time.